The morning sun cast long shadows across the New Geneva Research Station when Dr. Sarah Chen first received the transmission that would change everything. She was reviewing her coffee and the latest reports from the Deep Space Monitoring Array when her computer chimed with an incoming priority signal. At first, she thought it was another false alarm. The array had been picking up strange readings for weeks now, mostly cosmic background radiation and the occasional debris from old satellite networks. But this signal was different. It was structured, mathematical, and undeniably artificial. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she isolated the transmission and began running it through the translation protocols. The New Geneva Station was humanity's most advanced facility for extraterrestrial communication, built after the first contact attempts in 2157. For 30 years, they had been sending messages into space and listening for replies. This was the first time anyone had answered back. The message began to decode itself, revealing a complex mathematical framework that gradually shifted into something resembling language. Sarah called her team immediately. Dr. James Rodriguez, the station's xenolinguistics expert, arrived first, followed by Commander Lisa Park, the military liaison, and Dr. Ahmed Hassan, their best computer analyst. "What are we looking at, Sarah?" Commander Park asked, her sharp eyes scanning the scrolling data on the main screen. "Contact," Sarah replied simply. "Real contact. The signal is coming from approximately 12 light-years away, originating from a system we've cataloged as Kepler 442. The mathematical progressions are too complex to be natural phenomena, and the pattern suggests intentional communication." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward, studying the emerging translation. "The linguistic structure is fascinating. It's using prime number sequences as a base, then building more complex concepts on top. Whoever sent this understands mathematics the same way we do." As the hours passed, more of the message became clear. What they discovered sent chills through everyone in the room. The transmission was a desperate plea for help, sent by a dying civilization. The senders called themselves the Zephyrians. Their message painted a picture of a once proud species that had achieved incredible technological advancement, spreading across multiple worlds in their system. They had mastered energy manipulation, developed faster-than-light communication, and created a society based on harmony and scientific progress. But something had gone terribly wrong. "According to this," Dr. Hassan said, his voice grave, "they're facing complete extinction. Not from war or natural disaster, but from a biological crisis they can't solve." The translation revealed that Zephyrian reproduction had become nearly impossible. A genetic plague had swept through their population 50 years ago, affecting their ability to produce viable offspring. Their scientists had tried everything they could think of, but their birth rate had dropped to nearly zero. In the past decade, fewer than 100 children had been born across their entire civilization. "They're requesting our help," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But why us?" "We're barely capable of interstellar travel. Our longest manned mission only reached the outer edges of our solar system." Commander Park crossed her arms. "Maybe that's exactly why they chose us. We're young, genetically diverse, and our reproductive biology is still functioning normally." The message continued with detailed biological information about the Zephyrians. They were remarkably similar to humans in many ways. They breathed oxygen, had similar metabolic processes, and their genetic structure, while complex, showed surprising compatibility markers with human DNA. "This is impossible," Dr. Rodriguez muttered, studying the genetic data. "The probability of two species evolving this similarly on different worlds is astronomical." "Unless," Dr. Hassan interjected, "we have a common origin, ancient seeding perhaps, or convergent evolution driven by similar environmental pressures." The most shocking revelation came in the final section of the message. The Zephyrians had discovered that crossbreeding between their species and humanity might be possible. Not just possible, but potentially the key to saving both civilizations from future genetic bottlenecks. They want to send a delegation, Sarah read from the latest decoded section. A group of their finest scientists and reproductive candidates. They're asking for permission to come to Earth. Commander Park stood up abruptly. This goes way above our security clearance. We need to contact the Global Defense Council immediately. Wait, Dr. Hassan called out, pointing to another section of the message that was just becoming clear. There's more. They're not just asking for help. They're offering something in return. The Zephyrians possessed technology that could revolutionize human civilization, advanced medical techniques that could extend human lifespan by centuries, energy systems that could provide unlimited clean power, faster-than-light travel capabilities that could open the entire galaxy to human exploration. They're offering us the stars, Sarah whispered. But there was a catch. The Zephyrian expedition could only maintain life support for a limited time outside their home system. They needed an answer within 6 months, and if they were to make the journey, it would be one way. They would be committing everything to this desperate gamble. Think about what they're really asking, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. They want our men to help repopulate their species. They're essentially proposing a massive interspecies breeding program. And in return, Commander Park added, they're offering to share technology that could transform humanity into a galactic civilization. It's the biggest decision our species has ever faced. The team worked around the clock to verify the message and prepare their report. As word spread through the carefully controlled channels of the Global Defense Council, Earth's leadership found itself facing an unprecedented choice. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Secretary General of the United Earth Federation, arrived at New Geneva 3 days later with a team of military advisors, scientists, and ethicists. The conference room buzzed with tension as the implications of the Zephyrian message sank in. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Secretary General Vasquez said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were discussing. An alien species with technology centuries ahead of ours is offering to share everything they know in exchange for helping them avoid extinction. That's correct, Sarah confirmed. But it's not just technology transfer. They're proposing genetic integration. Children born from Zephyrian human pairings would be hybrids, carrying traits from both species. General Morrison, the head of Earth's military forces, leaned forward. What guarantees do we have that this isn't some kind of invasion strategy? How do we know they're telling the truth about their situation? Dr. Hassan pulled up the detailed scans they had conducted. The energy signature of their transmission required massive power output. We're talking about the equivalent of a small star's energy focused into a communication beam. No one expends that kind of resource for deception, especially not from a dying civilization. Furthermore, Dr. Rodriguez added, the biological and genetic data they've shared is incredibly detailed and consistent. If this is fiction, it's the most elaborate and scientifically accurate fiction ever created. The debate continued for hours. Ethicists raised questions about consent, genetic contamination, and the long-term effects on human evolution. Military advisors worried about security risks and potential conflicts. Scientists marveled at the opportunities for advancement while wondering about the risks of integrating alien DNA into the human genome. We have 6 months to decide, Secretary General Vasquez finally said. This decision will affect every human being alive and every human being who will ever be born. We need to approach this with the seriousness it deserves. Over the following weeks, secret committees formed to study every aspect of the Zephyrian proposal. Medical teams analyzed the biological compatibility data. Engineers studied the technical specifications they had shared about their spacecraft and technology. Psychologists and sociologists examined the cultural implications of interspecies contact. Meanwhile, Sarah and her team continued to receive follow-up messages from the Zephyrians. Each transmission provided more details about their situation and their proposed solution. The Zephyrians had identified approximately 200 of their healthiest and most genetically diverse women to send on the expedition. These weren't random individuals, but carefully selected scientists, engineers, and cultural ambassadors who could contribute to human society while working to save their own species. "They're not just asking us to help them reproduce," Sarah explained to the latest committee meeting. "They want to integrate into our society, learn from us while sharing what they know. It's a true partnership, not exploitation." Dr. Rodriguez had been studying the cultural information the Zephyrians had shared. Their society values scientific advancement, peaceful cooperation, and individual freedom. They have no concept of territorial warfare or resource competition. In many ways, they're more advanced socially than we are. But questions remained. What would happen to the hybrid children? Would they be accepted by human society? How would the presence of technologically superior aliens affect human development and self-determination? There's another consideration, Dr. Hassan pointed out during one late-night session. If we refuse their request, we're essentially condemning an entire species to extinction. Do we have the moral right to make that choice? Commander Park nodded grimly. And if their technology is as advanced as they claim, refusing them might also mean condemning humanity to remain trapped in our solar system forever. This could be our only chance to join the galactic community. As the deadline approached, more details emerged about the Zephyrian expedition plan. Their ship would arrive at the edge of Earth's solar system, where it would remain while smaller shuttles transported the delegation to Earth. They had chosen landing sites in remote areas of Australia, Canada, and Brazil to minimize initial cultural shock. The Zephyrians had also provided detailed medical protocols for the crossbreeding program. The process would be voluntary on both sides, with extensive genetic screening to ensure the health of any hybrid offspring. They estimated that successful pregnancies would result in children with enhanced intelligence, improved disease resistance, and extended lifespans. "It's like they're offering to help us take the next step in human evolution," Dr. Rodriguez observed. "Not through competition or conquest, but through cooperation and genetic diversity." Secretary General Vasquez called for a final vote 3 weeks before the deadline. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in emergency session to make the decision that would determine humanity's future. The debate was intense. Some argued that accepting the Zephyrian proposal was humanity's destiny, a chance to transcend their planetary limitations and join a larger galactic community. Others worried about losing human identity and independence, becoming dependent on alien technology and genetic manipulation. Religious leaders were divided. Some saw the Zephyrians as a divine gift, an opportunity to spread human consciousness across the galaxy. Others worried about interfering with divine plans and contaminating the human species with alien influences. Environmental groups pointed out that Zephyrian technology could solve Earth's climate and energy problems almost overnight. Military leaders argued that advanced alien technology was essential for protecting humanity from future threats. In the end, the vote was closer than anyone expected. 147 nations voted to accept the Zephyrian proposal. 98 voted against. 5 abstained. Secretary General Vasquez announced the decision to the world 48 hours later. The reaction was immediate and intense. Celebrations erupted in some cities while protests filled the streets of others. Religious groups declared everything from the coming of a new age to the end of times. Sarah stood in the communications center at New Geneva, her hands shaking as she prepared to send humanity's response to the stars. The message was simple: "We accept your proposal. Welcome to Earth." The reply came back within hours. "Departure begins immediately. Estimated arrival in 18 months. Thank you for giving our species hope." As Sarah watched the confirmation message scroll across her screen, she realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they were about to embark on the greatest adventure in their history. But first, they had 18 months to prepare for the arrival of 200 desperate alien women who were carrying the hopes of their entire civilization and the promise of transforming humanity into something greater than they had ever imagined. 18 months had passed in a blur of frantic preparation. The world had transformed in ways no one could have predicted when humanity first agreed to help the Zephyrians. What started as a secret diplomatic mission had become the most significant event in human history. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Sanctuary Station, humanity's hastily constructed orbital facility designed specifically for first contact. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the approaching Zephyrian vessel, a beautiful silver craft that seemed to bend light around its edges. After years of exchanging messages, she was finally going to meet the people whose desperate plea had changed everything. The preparations had been extraordinary. Entire cities had been mobilized to create facilities for the arriving Zephyrians. Medical centers equipped with hybrid human-alien technology were constructed in major population centers. Language schools had sprung up overnight to teach Zephyrian communication methods to thousands of volunteers. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had to select the men who would participate in the crossbreeding program. The process had been voluntary, but the response was overwhelming. Over 2 million men from every continent had applied to be part of humanity's genetic contribution to the program. Dr. James Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's lead xenolinguistics coordinator, joined Sarah at the observation window. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice carrying a mixture of excitement and nervousness that everyone felt. "Is anyone ever ready to meet aliens?" Sarah replied with a weak smile. "But we've done everything we can. The medical teams are standing by, the cultural orientation programs are prepared, and we've got the best minds on Earth working on integration protocols." The selection process for human participants had been rigorous and fair. Medical screening ensured genetic compatibility and health. Psychological evaluations confirmed mental stability and genuine willingness to participate. Educational and skill assessments identified individuals who could contribute meaningfully to the hybrid community that would emerge. Commander Lisa Park, now promoted to Director of Alien Affairs, approached them with the latest updates. "The Zephyrian ship will dock in 30 minutes. Their delegation is requesting permission to send a small advance team aboard first. 3 of their senior representatives want to meet with our leadership before the main group comes aboard." "That makes sense," Sarah nodded. "They're probably just as nervous as we are. This is their first time meeting another intelligent species, too." The advance team consisted of 3 Zephyrian women, whose roles had been carefully explained in the months of preparation. Dr. Kaya was their leading geneticist and medical expert. Ambassador Lyra served as their diplomatic representative. Engineer Zara was responsible for the technical aspects of integrating their species' technologies. When the airlock finally opened, Sarah held her breath. The first Zephyrian to step through was Ambassador Lyra, and the sight of her was both alien and strangely familiar. She stood about 6 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly in the station's lighting. Her hair was long and silver, moving as if it were underwater even in the normal atmosphere. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, a deep violet color that seemed to hold incredible intelligence and sadness. She wore a simple white garment that seemed to adapt to her movements, and when she spoke, her voice was melodious and clear. The translation device she wore converted her words into perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth," Lyra said, her voice carrying genuine emotion. "We cannot express how grateful we are for your acceptance of our request. You are offering us something more precious than life itself, the chance for our species to continue." Dr. Kaya stepped forward next. She was shorter than Lyra, with darker blue skin and shorter silver hair. Her eyes held the intensity of someone who had spent years fighting a losing battle against extinction. I bring with me the complete genetic and medical records of our delegation, as well as detailed protocols for ensuring successful crossbreeding. We have spent months preparing for this moment. Engineer Zara was the tallest of the three, with skin that seemed to shift between blue and green depending on the light. Her eyes were a bright silver, and she carried a device that apparently contained the technological knowledge they had promised to share. Our ship contains manufacturing templates for energy systems, medical devices, and space travel technology. We are prepared to begin immediate knowledge transfer. The formal introductions completed, the real work began. Over the following days, the remaining Zephyrian delegation came aboard Sanctuary Station in small groups. Each arrival brought new wonders and new challenges. The Zephyrian women were all remarkable individuals. Dr. Maya was a biologist who specialized in adaptive genetics. Engineer Vera had designed the ship's faster-than-light communication systems. Scientist Arya had developed their advanced medical technology. Each woman brought unique skills and knowledge that could benefit humanity enormously. But they also brought the weight of their species' desperate situation. As Sarah got to know them through the integration process, she learned more about the tragedy that had driven them to Earth. Our world was beautiful, Dr. Kaya explained during one of their medical consultations. Green forests, blue oceans, cities that floated in the sky. We had achieved everything we dreamed of as a species. Art, science, exploration. We thought we had unlimited time to perfect it all. What happened to cause the genetic crisis? Dr. Rodriguez asked. He had been working closely with the Zephyrians to understand their language and culture. Kaya's expression grew sad. We believe it was our own success that doomed us. We had eliminated most diseases, extended our lifespans to over 500 years, and achieved perfect genetic stability. But perfect stability became perfect stagnation. Our reproductive system adapted to the lack of genetic pressure by becoming increasingly selective. Within a few generations, successful reproduction became nearly impossible. The medical evaluations revealed the incredible sophistication of Zephyrian biology. Their genetic structure was indeed compatible with humans, but more than that, it was complementary. Where human genetics were strong, Zephyrian genetics filled in weaknesses. Where Zephyrian genetics had become too rigid, human genetic diversity provided the flexibility they needed. Dr. Elena Martinez, Earth's leading geneticist, was amazed by what she found. "It's as if our species were designed to work together," she told Sarah after completing the first round of compatibility tests. "The potential for hybrid vigor is enormous. Children from these unions could be healthier, more intelligent, and more adaptable than either parent species." But the integration process wasn't without challenges. Cultural differences emerged quickly. Zephyrians had no concept of individual ownership. Everything in their society was shared communally. They were confused by human concepts of privacy and personal space. Their mathematical approach to emotional problems clashed with human intuition and feeling. "We must learn to understand each other as people, not just as genetic donors and recipients," Ambassador Lyra explained during a cultural orientation session. "Our species will be linked forever through the children we create together. We need to build relationships based on genuine respect and affection." The first volunteers from both species met in carefully supervised sessions. John Martinez, a marine biologist from California, was selected to meet Dr. Maya, the Zephyrian adaptive biologist. Their initial conversation was awkward, but fascinating. "Your oceans," Maya said, her violet eyes wide with interest. "They contain so much genetic diversity. On our world, we managed our ecosystem so carefully that we eliminated most of the genetic variation that drives evolution. Your chaotic, uncontrolled natural systems are exactly what we need to learn from." John found himself explaining concepts that he had never thought about before. "We've always struggled with balancing environmental protection with natural processes. Maybe your management techniques combined with our genetic diversity could create something better than either approach alone. Romance wasn't the immediate goal, but genuine connections began to form. Dr. Ahmad Hassan, the computer analyst from the original First Contact team, found himself drawn to engineer Zara's brilliant mind and passionate dedication to solving technical problems. Maria Santos, a doctor from Brazil, connected with Dr. Akaya over their shared commitment to healing and helping others. It's not about physical attraction, though that's certainly part of it for some couples, Dr. Martinez observed. It's about finding intellectual and emotional compatibility. These relationships need to be strong enough to support children who will be bridge builders between two species. The technology transfer was proceeding even faster than the personal relationships. Zephyrian engineers worked with human scientists to understand their advanced systems. The first breakthrough came in energy production, a fusion reactor design that was completely clean and incredibly efficient. With this technology, we could provide unlimited clean energy to the entire planet within 5 years, reported Dr. Janet Kim, Earth's leading fusion scientist. No more fossil fuels, no more energy shortages, no more environmental damage from power production. Medical technology was equally revolutionary. Zephyrian healing techniques could regrow lost limbs, cure most cancers, and extend human lifespan significantly. But they required human genetic diversity to work properly, another indication that the two species were meant to work together. Your immune systems, Dr. Kaya explained, are much more robust than ours. Our medical technology can enhance and direct your natural healing processes, but it needs the genetic foundation that only humans possess. Space travel technology promised to transform humanity's relationship with the universe. Zephyrian faster-than-light drives could take human ships to nearby star systems in weeks instead of centuries. Combined with human adaptability and exploration instincts, it opened possibilities for galactic expansion that neither species could achieve alone. But the most profound changes were happening on a personal level. As humans and Zephyrians worked together, friendships formed that transcended species boundaries. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself becoming close friends with Ambassador Lyra, sharing stories about their respective worlds and dreams for the future. "Your species has something ours lost long ago," Lyra confided during one of their evening conversations. "Hope for the unexpected. We became so focused on perfection that we lost the ability to embrace change and growth. Your chaotic, passionate approach to life is exactly what we need." Sarah smiled. "And your wisdom, patience, and advanced knowledge are exactly what we need to avoid destroying ourselves as we expand into the galaxy. Neither of us is complete without the other." The first formal pairing ceremonies took place 6 months after the Zephyrians arrived. 50 couples had chosen each other through the careful courtship process that had been developed. The ceremonies were beautiful, combining traditions from both species in ways that honored their different cultures while creating something new. John Martinez and Dr. Maya exchanged vows in a ceremony held underwater, surrounded by Earth's marine life that had so fascinated the Zephyrian biologist. Dr. Hassan and engineer Zara were married in a ceremony that incorporated both human religious traditions and Zephyrian scientific rituals. "These aren't just weddings," Secretary General Vasquez observed. "These are the founding moments of a new species. The children born from these unions will be the first truly galactic citizens." The first pregnancies were confirmed 3 months later. The medical monitoring revealed that the hybrid fetuses were developing perfectly, showing enhanced characteristics from both parent species. Brain development was accelerated, immune systems were incredibly robust, and genetic diversity was higher than anyone had hoped. But success brought new challenges. As news of the pregnancies spread, some human groups began protesting the contamination of human genetics. Religious extremists claimed the hybrid children were abominations. political groups worried about the influence of alien technology on human independence. Change is always difficult, Ambassador Lyra observed during an emergency council session. Both our species will need time to adjust to what we're creating together, but we must stay focused on the future we're building for our children. Dr. Kaya had been studying human resistance patterns. Your species has always struggled with accepting genetic differences within your own population. It's natural that some would resist accepting genetic integration with another species entirely. Commander Park, now dealing with security issues related to the integration process, was more blunt. We've got protection protocols in place for all the mixed couples. The vast majority of humans support the program, but there are always extremists who resist change. The first hybrid children were born 9 months later. Baby Elena Hassan Zara was the first, born to Dr. Hassan and engineer Zara. The child was beautiful, with pale blue skin that shifted to pink in certain lighting, silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold incredible intelligence even as a newborn. "She's perfect," Dr. Martinez whispered as she conducted the first medical evaluation. "All the enhanced characteristics we hoped for, with no genetic anomalies or health issues. Her brain development is already weeks ahead of normal human infant development." Baby Marcus Martinez Maya was born 2 days later, followed by dozens of other hybrid children over the following months. Each birth was celebrated not just by the parents, but by both species as proof that their desperate gamble was succeeding. The children grew quickly, displaying remarkable intelligence and adaptability. They seemed to instinctively understand concepts from both parent cultures, switching effortlessly between human emotional expressions and Zephyrian logical analysis. "They're not just hybrids," Dr. Rodriguez observed, as he watched 3-year-old Elena easily solving mathematical problems that challenged most human adults. "They're something entirely new, a bridge species that combines the best traits of both their genetic heritages." As the first generation of hybrid children grew, they became symbols of hope for both species. For humans, they represented the promise of joining the galactic community and achieving technological advancement beyond their wildest dreams. For Zephyrians, they represented survival and the continuation of their genetic legacy. But they also represented something more profound, proof that cooperation and mutual respect could overcome the greatest challenges. Two species facing different forms of extinction had found salvation in each other, creating something greater than either could achieve alone. The success of the first generation led to expansion of the program. More Zephyrian women arrived from their home system, and more human volunteers joined the crossbreeding initiative. Hybrid children began attending special schools where they learned about both parent cultures while developing their unique capabilities. "We're not just saving the Zephyrian species," Sarah reflected as she watched Elena Hassan Zara demonstrate her ability to communicate with both human and Zephyrian adults with equal facility. "We're creating the foundation for humanity's future among the stars." The implications were staggering. Within a generation, hybrid children would be grown and capable of reproducing themselves. Within 2 generations, the genetic bottleneck that had doomed the Zephyrians would be completely eliminated. And within 3 generations, humanity would have evolved into something capable of spreading across the entire galaxy. But first, they had to navigate the challenges of raising the first generation of truly galactic citizens in a world that was still learning to accept the reality of interstellar cooperation. 25 years had passed since the Zephyrian delegation first arrived at Earth. The world had transformed beyond recognition, and Dr. Sarah Chen, now Director of Interspecies Development, stood in her office overlooking New Geneva City, watching hybrid children play in parks alongside human and Zephyrian companions. The first generation of hybrid children had grown into remarkable young adults. Elena Hassan Zara, now 25, served as Earth's youngest ambassador to the Zephyrian home system. Marcus Martinez Maya had become a brilliant scientist, leading research projects that combined human creativity with Zephyrian precision. Their generation had exceeded every expectation, becoming the bridge between species that everyone had hoped for. Sarah's assistant, Dr. Kev Chen Lyra, entered her office with the latest reports. Kev was himself a second-generation hybrid, born to a human father and Lyra's daughter. His presence represented how quickly the integration had progressed. 3 generations of cooperation had created individuals who thought naturally in terms of galactic citizenship rather than planetary loyalty. "The colony ship Aurora is ready for departure," Kev reported, his voice carrying the melodic quality inherited from his Zephyrian grandmother, but speaking with distinctly human enthusiasm. 2,000 volunteers, including 500 hybrids from 3 generations. They'll establish humanity's first permanent settlement outside our solar system. Sarah nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and wonder. The Aurora was humanity's first, faster-than-light colony ship, built using combined human engineering skills and Zephyrian technology. Its destination was Kepler 442b, a world in the Zephyrian system that had been prepared specifically for human-Zephyrian cooperation. The success of the crossbreeding program had exceeded everyone's wildest expectations. The hybrid children weren't just healthy and intelligent. They possessed capabilities that neither parent species had achieved independently. They could process information like Zephyrians while maintaining human creativity and emotional intelligence. They inherited extended lifespans from their Zephyrian heritage while keeping human adaptability and resilience. "Any word from the other colony expeditions?" Sarah asked. "Colony Alpha in the Proxima system is thriving," Kev replied, consulting his holographic display. "They've successfully terraformed 2 moons and established trade relationships with 3 other species in that region. Colony Beta reported first contact with a mechanical intelligence that's interested in learning about biological cooperation. The transformation hadn't been limited to genetics." Zephyrian technology had revolutionized every aspect of human civilization. Clean fusion energy had eliminated environmental concerns about power generation. Advanced medical techniques had virtually eliminated disease and extended human lifespans to match Zephyrian standards. Most importantly, faster-than-light travel had opened the entire galaxy to human exploration. But the changes went deeper than technology. The presence of Zephyrians had fundamentally altered human culture and thinking. The Zephyrian emphasis on long-term planning and cooperative problem-solving had helped humanity move beyond short-term conflicts and resource competition. Human passion and creativity had reinvigorated Zephyrian society, helping them rediscover the joy of discovery and growth. Elena Hassan Zara materialized in the office through the quantum communication system, her image appearing as a shimmering hologram from the Zephyrian homeworld. At 25, she had inherited her father's analytical mind and her mother's technological brilliance, while developing a uniquely hybrid perspective that made her invaluable as an ambassador. "Grandmother Sarah," Elena said, using the honorary title that had developed for the humans who had made first contact possible. "I have extraordinary news from the homeworld. The Zephyrian Council has approved the Great Expansion Project." Sarah's eyes widened. The Great Expansion was an ambitious plan to establish cooperative colonies throughout the galaxy, spreading both human and Zephyrian influence while searching for other species that might benefit from interspecies cooperation. "Tell me about it," Sarah requested, settling into her chair for what she knew would be a fascinating briefing. Elena's excitement was obvious even through the quantum transmission. "The Council has identified 47 star systems with conditions suitable for human Zephyrian colonies. Each will be designed as a research and development center, focusing on different aspects of galactic civilization. Some will study new forms of energy manipulation, others will work on biological adaptation to different planetary conditions. More importantly," Elena continued, We've received signals from 16 different species expressing interest in joining the cooperative network. The success of human Zephyrian integration has attracted attention throughout this region of the galaxy. This was the development that everyone had dreamed of, but hardly dared to expect. The desperate plea from dying Zephyrian women had not only saved their species and elevated humanity, it had created a model for galactic cooperation that other species wanted to join. Dr. Kea, now over 70 years old, but still vital thanks to hybrid medical technology, joined the conversation from her research facility. Her work had evolved from saving the Zephyrian species to developing protocols for multi-species genetic cooperation. The Altarians are particularly interesting, Kaya reported. They're a crystalline-based intelligence that reproduces through harmonic resonance. Their mathematics are so advanced that they could solve energy problems we haven't even discovered yet. But they lack the biological flexibility needed for planetary adaptation. And the Andromedans, Elena added, are pure energy beings who are fascinated by biological consciousness. They want to learn how to create physical forms that can interact with material reality. Sarah marveled at how far they had all come. What began as a desperate attempt to save one dying species had become the foundation for a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest. The second-generation hybrids were proving even more remarkable than their parents. They possessed an intuitive understanding of multiple species' perspectives that made them natural diplomats and bridge builders. They could communicate with crystalline intelligences through mathematical harmonics while maintaining emotional connections with biological species. Young David Santos Aria, now 15, had already made contact with a machine intelligence that had been trying to understand biological consciousness for centuries. Maria Kimvera had developed translation protocols that worked with species that communicated through color changes and chemical emissions. The third generation will be even more extraordinary, Dr. Rodriguez predicted during a recent research meeting. Each generation builds on the genetic and cultural advantages of the previous ones. In a few more generations, we may have individuals who can serve as living bridges between any form of consciousness in the galaxy. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Some human communities had struggled to accept the rapid changes, leading to the formation of pure human enclaves that refused to participate in genetic integration. Some Zephyrians had difficulty adapting to the chaotic energy that humans brought to their orderly society. But these challenges had been overwhelmed by the extraordinary successes. Hybrid children showed remarkable psychological health, combining human emotional resilience with Zephyrian mental discipline. Crime rates in integrated communities were virtually zero. Scientific advancement was proceeding at a pace that amazed both parent species. "There's something else," Elena said, her expression becoming more serious. "We've detected signals from Earth's distant future. The quantum communication network is picking up transmissions from what appears to be several thousand years from now." Sarah leaned forward. This was new and potentially significant information. The signals suggest that human Zephyrian cooperation becomes the foundation for something called the Galactic Consciousness Network, Elena explained. Apparently, our model of genetic and cultural integration spreads throughout the galaxy, eventually connecting hundreds of species in a cooperative civilization that spans multiple galaxies. The implications were staggering. The desperate plea from Zephyrian women hadn't just saved their species or elevated humanity. It had apparently set in motion events that would transform the entire galaxy into a cooperative civilization. According to the future transmissions, Elena continued, the key was proving that genetic integration could work without conquest or domination. Other species had attempted galactic expansion through military force or economic control. Our model demonstrated that voluntary cooperation and mutual benefit create much stronger and more sustainable results. Dr. Hassan, now in his 70s but still sharp thanks to hybrid medical technology, joined the discussion from his research station on Mars. We're receiving confirmation of this from the archaeological teams on ancient worlds. We've found evidence of at least 12 species that destroyed themselves through competitive expansion. Apparently, we're the first to successfully achieve cooperative galactic civilization. The archaeological discoveries were fascinating. Ancient ruins throughout the galaxy showed evidence of species that had achieved faster-than-light travel and advanced technology, but had ultimately destroyed themselves through warfare, resource competition, or genetic stagnation. Humanity and the Zephyrians had avoided these pitfalls through their cooperative approach. The future transmissions include detailed instructions for avoiding the mistakes that destroyed previous galactic civilizations, Elena reported. Apparently, our descendants want to ensure that we don't repeat historical errors. The instructions were comprehensive guides for maintaining genetic diversity, managing resource distribution across multiple species, and preventing the cultural stagnation that had doomed the Zephyrians' original civilization. They also included warnings about specific challenges that would arise as the cooperative network expanded. The most important warning is about maintaining the balance between unity and diversity, Elena explained. Our descendants emphasize that the strength of galactic civilization comes from the unique contributions of each species. The goal is cooperation, not homogenization. This guidance was already influencing current planning. The colony ships being prepared for the Great Expansion were specifically designed to maintain cultural and genetic diversity while promoting cooperation. Each colony would include representatives from multiple species, but would be encouraged to develop unique characteristics based on local conditions and challenges. Sarah looked out her window at the city below, where human, Zephyrian, and hybrid citizens worked together on projects that would have been impossible for any single species to achieve. Flying cars powered by clean fusion energy moved between buildings that seemed to defy gravity. Parks filled with plants from both Earth and the Zephyrian homeworld created environments that were beautiful beyond anything either species had achieved alone. Children of all three populations played together, learning languages, mathematics, and sciences that prepared them for lives among the stars. Hybrid children served as natural translators and mediators, while human children brought creativity and adaptability to problem-solving, and Zephyrian children contributed discipline and long-term thinking. How many species are currently interested in joining the cooperative network? Sarah asked. 43 confirmed, with signals from approximately 200 others, Elena replied. The network is expanding faster than we ever imagined possible. The expansion was accelerating because each success created more opportunities. Species that had been afraid of contact with aliens were reassured by the obviously beneficial results of human-Zephyrian cooperation. The hybrid children served as living proof that genetic integration could work without destroying the unique qualities of parent species. There's one more thing, Elena said, her expression becoming excited again. The quantum archaeologists have discovered something extraordinary on an ancient world near the galactic core. Sarah waited for the revelation. Evidence of a previous galactic consciousness network that existed approximately 50,000 years ago, Elena announced. It apparently included over 300 species and lasted for almost 10,000 years before collapsing due to genetic stagnation. The implications were profound. The current cooperative effort wasn't just creating something new. It was rebuilding something that had existed before but had been lost. The ancient network had failed because they hadn't solved the genetic diversity problem that the human-Zephyrian partnership had addressed. Our approach to maintaining genetic and cultural diversity while promoting cooperation appears to be the missing piece that caused the ancient network to fail, Elena explained. The future transmissions suggest that our model will allow the new galactic consciousness network to be permanent rather than temporary. Dr. Alkaya's voice carried wonder as she added her analysis. We're not just saving the Zephyrian species or advancing human civilization. We're apparently completing a project that was started 50,000 years ago by species we've never heard of. The scope of what they were accomplishing continued to expand. The desperate plea from Zephyrian women had triggered a chain of events that would restore galactic civilization to levels that hadn't been achieved in 50 millennia. "The first great expansion fleet departs tomorrow," Kev announced. 50 ships, each carrying cooperative colonies to star systems throughout this galactic arm. Each colony will serve as a seed for further expansion and a beacon for species that want to join the network. Sarah felt a deep satisfaction as she contemplated the transformation that had occurred. A simple decision to help a desperate alien species had become the foundation for rebuilding galactic civilization. The Zephyrian women who had risked everything on humanity's compassion had saved not just their own species, but had apparently saved the galaxy itself. "What would you like me to tell the Zephyrian Council about humanity's role in the Great Expansion?" Elena asked. Sarah considered her answer carefully. "Tell them that humanity is honored to be part of restoring the galaxy to cooperative civilization. Tell them that their courage in reaching out to us has made possible something greater than either of our species could have imagined." As the transmission ended and Sarah returned to her work, she reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought them to this point. The desperate plea from dying alien women had become the salvation of galactic civilization. The hybrid children who had once been an uncertain experiment were now the leaders of humanity's expansion among the stars. The future stretched ahead, filled with possibilities that earlier generations couldn't have dreamed of. Hundreds of species working together to explore the galaxy, sharing knowledge and resources in ways that benefited everyone. The genetic diversity and cultural richness that would ensure the network's permanent success. And at the center of it all, the proof that cooperation and mutual respect could overcome any challenge, no matter how desperate or impossible it might seem. The Zephyrian women who had taken the ultimate risk in reaching out to humanity had not just ensured that their kind would endure, they had ensured that galactic civilization itself would flourish for millennia to come.